are live. Hello everyone. I'm gonna say this little bit very slowly just to allow everyone to come into this virtual room, but thank you so much for giving your time this afternoon to join us on our very exciting Wednesday afternoon event on the Make for Tomorrow programme. So hello everyone, my name is Lucy. I work for Sussex Partnership Trust. I'm the Arts and Health Lead, so that's Make Your Mark, which all arts and health stuff across all different services in the trust. And this afternoon in Make for Tomorrow, we have a really exciting hour-long chat with two extraordinary women, which I'm sure is going to be lots of fun and really interesting. Just a really quick one to say about if you've not been to a Make for Tomorrow event before, it's a programme of free online live, but you can also catch up with them because we record them so you can watch them later, events. So we've got two strands of the programme. One is lots of performers and writers and people and faces that you might recognise from screen and stage and TV. And then we also have a group of really exciting visual artists who are doing interactive workshops and projects that you can join. So do please, if you haven't already, do please go to the Make Your Mark website where there's updates of all the different things that are happening in the different events. And just to say that this programme, so yes, I do work for the Trust, but we've done it in partnership with two fantastic organisations. We've got Hospital Rooms, who are this great set of people who work with visual artists to transform clinical spaces in the mental health care settings. So they are looking after and bringing in all these exciting visual artists to do workshops with us all. And then the other partner is Arts Over Borders. And I'm going to, rather than try and say what they do in my own inadequate words, I'm going to hand you over to Liam, who's from Arts Over Borders. He'll tell you a little bit about what they do. They're part of this project, and then he'll introduce you to this afternoon's event. But that's it from me for now. I'll say goodbye to you at the end of this event. But yeah, I just want to say I hope you enjoy it, and I really want to say a massive thank you for being here. All right, speak to you soon.
Thanks, Lucy. Good afternoon. Hello, everyone. My name is Liam Brown. Along with my colleague, Sean Dorn, we work as Arts for Borders, curating arts festivals and individual events. Our focus is on a sense of place, on landscape, shaping a festival program that ideally works specifically for a particular city or region. So a lot of our work is site-specific, seeking out found spaces in which to create unique events. Our role in Make for Tomorrow is to curate a series of conversations with artists and performers, in which, of course, they discuss the wonderful aspects of their working life as they see it, but also focus on insecurity, doubt, moments of frailty, what we all experience. So I'm delighted to welcome Siobhan McSweeney to today's conversation. We're really grateful to Siobhan for making the time to do this. Siobhan's going to be in conversation with Caroline Mabey. Caroline is a regular on the comedy circuit. She has 5 solo Edinburgh Fringe shows to her name. She appeared in Comedy Central as part of their performance anxiety campaign, and she features in Radio 4's Josh Howie is Losing It. She also writes for the News Quiz. She's an MC, is a regular compere at the 99 Club in London, and she co-hosts the popular Self Renovators podcast. If you want to find out more about Caroline, her website, very simply, is carolinemabey.com. Mabey is spelled M-A-B-E-Y. So our thanks to Caroline for agreeing to chair this afternoon. So to begin with, by way of introduction, Caroline's going to say a few words about Siobhan, and that will lead into the conversation. So I hope you enjoy it. Over to you, Caroline.
Thank you, Liam. It's my great pleasure to be here today and to introduce the wonderful Siobhan McSweeney. She is, of course, the fabulous Sister Michael in Derry Girls, which has been a phenomenal success and has its 3rd season on the way. Cannot wait for that. I hope Siobhan is going to enjoy talking about insecurity, doubt and frailty. Liam, what a fun trio of topics you've put forward for us. I just very quickly, I wanted to say a few more things about Siobhan's amazing CV. So much brilliant stuff on there. Originally from Cork, Siobhan's trained at Central School of Speech and Drama in London and École Philippe Goyer in Paris. I don't know if I said that right. On stage, she's worked at the Abbey Theatre in Dublin, in the UK at the National Theatre, the Royal Shakespeare Company, the Royal Court, Royal Exchange, so much royalty, and the Donmar Warehouse. Her screen work includes BBC's Collateral and at Channel 4, No Offence, London Irish, and of course, the fabulous Derry Girls. So my first question to you, Siobhan, is Derry Girls has been an enormous success. The cast has talked about how they are there for each other, but has that sudden level of fame been a challenge, and how have you all coped with that individually and together?
Hello, Caroline. I first of all just want to say thanks to Lucy and Sean and Liam for asking me to do this. It sounds like quite scary topics, but I'm looking forward to this. And hello, you're fab. Now the question, I think with regards, it's been difficult in different ways, but it's not like the show's success. We're not suddenly famous for being horrible people. People have such a warm response to the show, and people respond so positively to it all that it makes it it's really gratifying. And it's yourself as a performer, quite often you feel as if you're just screaming into the abyss and you don't really get much of a reaction. That's why live performance is so addictive, because you do get that immediate smell quite often in the room. Smell of various things. But I think the overnight, I suppose if you can call it, aspect of it has been tough. There are difficult things with it. Being recognizable is, I personally find, quite difficult. And at the start it was okay because I wasn't that recognizable. It was the girls.
Wimple.
Yeah. And it was the girls who were really recognizable, not me. So I felt, which was great, because I saw them handle it with such grace and kindness. I sort of learned from watching them, so that when eventually people figured out that the sulky woman in the back was actually Sister Michael, I had figured out a way of sort of coping with it. But it is difficult. And the one thing that does help is that we are all in it together. We are genuinely quite a close cast and crew. We are all mates, so we can help each other. Of course, when the girls are together, and by the girls, I always include Dylan with this, naturally. When the girls are together, they're so, recognizable. There's the shape of them. People know what it is. But there are aspects of it that have been difficult. And I have found it difficult. I found it, at times difficult. Yeah.
So people do now recognize you on the street and shout out Sister Michael?
In a way, if that was the case, that would almost be easier. It's just when I be talking to it's the glances and it's the, I mean, I really don't want to sound as if I'm being ungrateful or anything. Far from it. I'm absolutely thrilled that people respond so well to it. And especially they respond to the character. And what's lovely is that they think that they know her. That's the whole point. So they think they know me. And I love it. I do love hearing people's response to the show, especially if it's positive. But it is weird going into a room and not sure if people are glancing at each other because you've chocolate on your face, or if they're going, who is she from again? And I've grown up with chocolate on my face, so I'm always sort of a bit like, am I wearing pants? What's going on? So it's just a little bit disconcerting, a little bit wary, but sure. I mean, I'll get over it. It's not exactly like Syria, is it? But
but that feeling that they know something about you and you don't know anything about them.
Yeah. You must have it when you come off stage after a gig. Do you know that they almost confuse the person who you presented on stage with who you are? And I think with comedy and stand-up, it's very much that kind of vibe, because they think you're that. So when you're saying, giving an example from your life, they don't know that you've gone away, you've written it, you've refined it, you tested it out in front of a load of audiences. And if it is you, it's certainly a very small version of you that you're choosing to present. Yes. And with actors and with this, and I understand it because I do it myself, they think I'm her.
But you are very different from her. very, even, I think even if you had a wimple on, if you were talking as you are now, I wouldn't mistake you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, as I said, I do not get recognized as much as the girls. And it depends on where I am, of course. You know, I live in London and I could go down the street with my head on fire and nobody would look twice at you. And
so have you shot the third season now?
No. It got postponed because of COVID, which is really sad.
Here's our first question has arrived.
Ooh, yay, somebody's listening.
It's from an anonymous attendee.
My favorite kind.
It's like Valentine's Day. It must have been great working on Derry Girls with so many incredible females. Was it different working on this set than on others? And if so, how? So most of the cast are female, the writer's female. Were the crew also very female, or?
The producers female, the director was male. Not as many of the crew actually were women, but certainly from an actor's perspective, there was obviously more women, and that's unusual in itself. And Lisa and our wonderful Michael Lennox is the director, and Lisa was on set every single day, and you know,
putting him right.
No need to put him right. He is absolutely amazing. But she was very much on set. So you had Mammy and Daddy on set.
Right. Fabulous.
You know, so that was interesting. Not only was it having more female actors on set, which is unusual, but the topics we were covering were very female orientated, just an all girls school and all that. And I suppose for that very reason, there was a different vibe on set, that the story didn't center around male protagonists. And I think, I mean, I've worked with a few female directors before, but at the end of the day, you know, there's a lot of like, oh, well, 50-50 of like, we'll put in a few more female characters. And even when it comes to diversity, you know, but we're not changing the stories we're telling. And I think that is fundamentally the main hurdle we need to smash through before we do get any kind of equality, both in front and behind the camera. We're not changing the stories. So even if you up the amount of female roles they are, if they're not central to the story, it doesn't matter. Same with you know, diversity. God, I hate that phrase because it's so reductive and it lumps everybody in. You know, you have the default human is a white man, and everybody else is a minority, and you're like, Jesus, lads, you know, even women take up 51 point whatever percent. Like, we're a majority. And within that, like, if we're still centering the story, this is a real soapbox moment for me. If we're still centering the story around one experience, then it doesn't really matter how many people you have in front or behind the camera, if the narrative, which is what the audience is going to respond to, isn't changing.
You've really done that with Derry Girls. It's great. The women are front and center. And that, I guess that's one of the many reasons why it's been so popular. It's just, you don't see that very often, do you? Women front and center in a drama or a comedy.
No. So, it's great, and that's down to Lisa, the writer. Yeah, it's really, really great, and it's successful. So there literally is no more excuses.
Yeah, no more excuses. So except for COVID. So you were about to go into production, and it stopped. How did that affect your well-being?
I felt very wobbly after that. I think we all did. There was a lot of WhatsApp groups were buzzing, and lots of phone calls and lots of confusion. And I think, you know, a lot of my friends are actors, are performers, and everybody's work has been affected by this. There is a certain amount of, when you are a performer, you know this, there's a certain amount, well, a huge amount of inconsistency and sort of insecurity and danger in this lifestyle, and that you don't know what's going to happen next. You know, the best thing is the worst thing about it. So I do feel as if I have really good tools to deal with rejection, disappointment, all these various things that that come up with just the joys of the job. But this sort of hit hard because for all the obvious reasons. It's the show I want to do all the time. I love doing it. It's one that we've been waiting to do for a while. There's nothing like the feeling of doing a show that you know people love, so that your opinion of the show and other people's opinion of the show match. That doesn't always happen, shall we say? But then if you put in the horrible added anxiety-making ingredient of a global pandemic, where you feel nothing is secure, you're like, I really don't think people, because I certainly don't know yet how COVID is going to affect us all. I think both, you know, nationally and internationally, we're going to have various forms of, and I don't say this lightly, of PTSD. Like I've had a very tough lockdown. It would be dishonest of me to say otherwise. And I am incredibly supported, and I have a lot of inner resources. I have a lot of external resources. I'm in a very privileged position, and yet I had a very difficult thing. So quarantine, lockdown, whatever, and it's not over yet. So who knows? Yeah. So yeah, it was as they say, a bit of a dose. It was a bit of a dose, COVID not happening, but like, you know, it will happen, and we're all safe and we're all healthy, and that is really all that matters.
Okay. Do you feel comfortable talking a little bit more about lockdown?
Yeah.
Your terrible lockdown.
Terrible. I could only get Deliveroo 3 times a day. Yeah.
Where were you? You live in London?
I live in London. Yeah. So I was, when lockdown happened, it was a cumulative thing. So all these things happened in the last 18 months. The cherry on the cake being COVID, which created this perfect storm for me to enter lockdown in a very vulnerable position. So my aunt, who was my surrogate mother, passed away a year ago. Before,
I'm sorry to hear.
9 months before that, my father passed away. Then November last year, my flat burnt down, and I lost everything. And I was living in friends' spare rooms and couches and everything. Like, that's what I mean. I have an amazing support network. And as the flat was being renovated, and the lockdown happened while there was still no boiler in the flat. There was the floors had just been put in. Like, it's a rented accommodation, housing association. So the landlords, you know, the housing association went as quick as they do. And
really talking insecurity, doubt and frailty here, aren't we?
So I also have underlying health issues, which make me very vulnerable to COVID. I have.
You had no home.
No. So so a lot of work had to be done for me to be put into my flat in the dead of night during lockdown, when we didn't know anything about the virus. Also, my family are all in Ireland, so they went into lockdown much quicker than the UK. We were getting, so the information in Ireland versus the information in the UK was completely contrasting. So I felt I was in one of those nightmares where you're screaming and screaming and nobody's listening to you, because you're going, no, guys, this is really serious. It's not a question of going, sure, it's grand, come on, let's go to the pub. No, this is really, really bad. Thankfully, my friends took it very seriously and locked down as soon as I did. But it means I entered lockdown in a state of extreme anxiety. And then I was told that I had to shield. I got a letter coming in. Again, this is all fine. It was all doable, but it was just this cumulative thing, one thing after the other, one thing after the other, this feeling that the whole world could crumble around you. If your father can die overnight, if your surrogate mother can die overnight, if your house and all your belongings can burn down, and now there's a global bloody pandemic. So I was just like twitching the whole time, sort of going, what else is going to, what else can happen?
And then
looking up for pianos to fall on the head, like.
Or a giant clock. So you spent lockdown alone then?
Yes, I live by myself. So
no boiler, or the boiler arrived?
No, everything arrived. Everything arrived. It was fine. So a lot of worry, a lot of anxiety around those things. Yeah.
An anonymous attendee saying, so sorry to hear about your awful experiences, as I am. I feel mean for asking you about them.
No, listen, and also may I take this opportunity to ask people to get rid of their cubed adapters. You know, the cubed plugs that you put several things into, and there's a fault design with them and they can very easily cause a fire. So please get rid of them, please.
That's what caused your fire. Yeah.
Yeah, surprisingly, it wasn't even me. Like,
just a faulty piece of
electrical equipment
adapted by your bed.
Yeah.
Horrible, really horrible. So the anonymous attendee says, so sorry to hear about your awful experiences. Thanks for sharing. Has comedy helped you through the dark times?
Yes, that's what comedy is. Yeah.
So
do you know what hasn't helped anyone through a dark time? A production of Macbeth. No one through a dark time went, do you know what I'd love now? I'd love a really, really long version of King Lear.
I don't know.
No.
Did you ever see Macbeth on the estate?
No.
It was really good. It was Macbeth set in a council estate, which sounds, there's a kind of issue with the hereditary path, but it worked really well. It suddenly made so much more sense because it was real people, and there were some real people who lived on that real estate, acting as parts in it as well. It's about 20 years ago, so it's not very current. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, but that's interesting, because I think what you're responding to there is the fact that it was actually what invigorated you watching it was the setting, was the infusing of a new life into it, is changing the paradigm, taking it out of something and putting it into somewhere else. That is truly invigorating. But as a device to represent humanity, I'm not sure tragedy does it. Do you know what I mean? Yes. I think comedy is where our humanity inherently lies. And I think in all the bad times that I have encountered, and all the bad times, just through life, that anybody I know that I've been with have encountered, there's always been a giggle. There's always been something that will make your heart, that will make you laugh, because if you laugh, you cry.
Yeah. So were you sitting there alone in your flat laughing?
Yeah.
I mean, did you binge on comedy box sets, or it was more about creating comedy?
My friends are very funny, so they would come and check up on me, and they made me laugh a lot. My brother's very funny. I'd be on the phone quite a lot, you see, or on Skype or on Zoom, and let that on in the background. I'd be cooking away and chatting to people. I find that I tended to use television and like box sets and stuff. I would tend to watch stuff that I had watched a million times already, so it would become some kind of like security blanket. So like I would watch, I like what I watch. I watched some. I like Gene Wilder, so I watched like a lot of Young Frankenstein and Blazing Saddles and things like that, or early Whoopi Goldberg stuff, Jumpy Jack Flash, and just stuff that is better than funny. It's comforting. Yeah, just watch it and watch it and watch it. But I would end up watching Murder, She Wrote, Morse. like Inspector Morse, but so, you know, those sort of things where, you know, at the end of this, everything will be wrapped up.
Yeah.
A nice bit of Poirot. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Somebody's saying Derry Girls is Channel 4's most successful comedy since Father Ted. Wow. What comedy has influenced you? Well, you've just answered that. So we'll have to move straight on. What has been your favourite role to play?
Oh, well, it'll have to be Big M herself.
From Emma. Sorry, that's from Emma.
Hi, Emma. Thank you very much for tuning in. I know Sister Michael without a shadow of a doubt. Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. And I've gotten to play really nice and interesting characters in the past. I got to play Sonia in Uncle Vanya, which was a personal sort of check bucket list that I really wanted to do because I saw too many skinny English girls doing it with beautiful faces. And I'm like, that's not her at all. That's not it. It's, in fact, that's rarely who it is. But Sister Michael, I've loved doing her, really loved doing her. I've never played anything like her. I've never in a way, I've never seen anything like her either, even though she is very recognizable to me. And I think people recognize her when they say her, but that's good writing in a way as well. Yeah, definitely Sister Michael. Yeah.
Did you have to work on the eye roll to get that just right? No, came natural. And did you, when you were going for that part, did you know straight away this was something special? Yeah. And do you I don't know if you whether you know this when you're an actor, but was it hard? Did you get the part easily, or
I believe that I don't know whether it was Channel 4 or Hat Trick, but I believe they wanted to go older.
Right. You are quite young for a headmistress.
She's yeah, I think more they were thinking that personality wise you'd have to be a bit older. And I think the joke is that she came out of the womb like this. She was exactly like this when she was 9. Do you know, like she was eye rolling in kindergarten. It's too easy to have an older person play that part. Like it's not as funny, I think. And obviously Lisa didn't. She agreed with me. I believe so. Yeah. I don't know. There's a lot of mythology after the fact, isn't there? You know. But I mean, I know Lisa and Liz.
You'd worked with her before, hadn't you?
Yes, and we were mates, and I know her humour. So I said this before, that years ago she said, I'm thinking of writing something about when I was a schoolgirl. And I think there's a part in there for you, Siobhan. And I swear to God, I remember thinking, I mean, it'll be a push to get back into that school skirt, but by God, we could do it, I think. Yeah, you go and write that, Lisa. You go and write that, and I will start rooting out a bit of elastic for the school skirt.
Brilliant. Jenny Bell she says, hi Siobhan, thanks for being so open about your experiences. You say comedy has helped. Just wondering if you ever watch your own programmes.
With Derry Girls, because it's such a lovely experience and I'm so proud of the show. Not that I'm not proud of other things as well, but like, for example, for the second series, all my neighbours came in and I had a few friends over and we had a viewing party. So yeah, it was really nice. There was cake and there was a bit of fizz and loads of tea and everything, bickies, the whole lot. In general, I do watch it, perhaps not when it's on immediately, like in general. I've a sort of a weird, to be honest with you, stuff I've done before hasn't compared to Derry Girls. This is the biggest part on screen that I've ever had. So in fairness, it's been a lot of like, you know, okay, don't blink, there, I'm gone. So yeah, yeah, there's a novelty with seeing yourself on screen, which doesn't go, I think, but it is weird, and it's awful to look at yourself. I finally hit on the right thing to think when I see myself on screen, which is whatever you're seeing on screen, Siobhan, must be wrong, because your mother was a proud, beautiful woman, and there's no way on earth that she could have given birth to that.
Oh no.
But every actor I say it to, they suddenly go, oh God, that's really useful. Because you're going, I don't understand that, because what I'm looking at,
yeah,
my friends are very honest and they have no problem. Like, they would have told me if I really looked like that.
Yeah.
So if I can go, I'm looking at this incorrectly. This incorrectly. So instead of weeping over the size of my belly, I'm going to see if I actually hit my mark, if I got the laugh, if I'm being truthful in that moment, and all those sorts of things. But yeah. Otherwise, you're like,
yeah, you've got to leave the judgment to one side. You. Another Derry Girls fan in the questions. Ruth says Derry Girls was on repeat for me in lockdown. Love it. And love Sister M. Everything about her. Everything.
Everything.
She seems to have good coping mechanisms. Do you share any of her characteristics?
Oh, that's a really good question. I love that you watched it during lockdown as well. You see, that's what I think. I think that comedy helps us through the tough times, really, not just in cheering us up, but it does something else, I think. I don't know what. Any of her coping mechanisms? What are her? Like, I roll a lot.
Yeah.
I roll a lot, and I get quite grumpy a lot. These aren't really necessarily coping mechanisms, rather than actual faults of mine. But she's quite solitary, and I think I'm quite solitary to a certain extent. I love company, but I really enjoy being by myself as well. So that was the one thing about lockdown. On the one hand, terrifying, feeling nervous all the time, feeling sick, blah, 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 blah. And on the other hand, truly knowing that this is time that you are truly by yourself, and trying to get a freedom in that as well. Sense of some sort of release, like sort of going, well, I can't go to that party because there's a global pandemic on, you know. I've hit on the perfect excuse. I mean, I'm implying I'm not sociable now at all. I really am, but there's something about just that little, I think everybody felt it, of not having to appear, not having to be on, not having to, you know, which I love, the countless cups of teas. There was another form of anxiety that I had that I wonder if you had, Caroline, because I think it's something possibly, I think of it as a female inherited anxiety, in that my mum, like, you know, I was, you know, she was a mum of the 70s, you know, so it was all women's lib, you know. And I grew up being taught that the world was mine for the picking, and that education was key, and to have my own bank account, and to focus on my career and my kids if I chose to have them. And as a result, in lockdown, in a 1-bed flat, I sat down and realized that part of the problem was that I was scared of becoming domesticated. There was this inherited anxiety I felt, that if I was around the house too long, that I was somehow missing out on life. There was something of a very distinct female experience about it, of being in the kitchen, of the fecking sourdough starters and the banana, blah, 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 blah. I mean, I'm a fantastic cook, but who cares? Who cares? Like, this idea that the kitchen hasn't been our prison. the idea that the house hasn't historically been a fortified jail for us, for women. So that to be confined there, I did find it very like, oh my God, I'm meant to be out there doing things, and inside I'm here eating again. And yes. That was my main coping mechanism. In fact, that's definitely my main coping mechanism.
That's very healthy. You wouldn't want not to eat.
No.
And with that in mind, an anonymous attendee says, was Bake Off a career highlight? What happened on your Bake Off?
I had a nervous breakdown on it. No, I shouldn't be so glib, but I got very stressed. But I had great fun and everything was a disaster.
That's a lovely phrase. I had great fun and everything was a disaster. Yeah, I think I'll keep hold of that one. That's lovely.
Yeah, nothing. Basically, the judges had it in for me. There's no other explanation for the fact that I didn't win.
Well, Jacqueline McGarry says it looked like you had a hoot doing it.
I did. We all agreed because it was a chance to hang out. We hadn't seen each other in a while. So there was 5 of us there. Louisa couldn't do it because she was rehearsing a play. But we all, we like hanging out. So what you got was very much how we are off camera.
That's beautiful. Somebody wants to know if you learned any new skills during lockdown. I took that you didn't learn the sourdough, or did you?
No.
I didn't go there either. But did you do any kind of self-care? Did you learn any self-care?
Meditation.
Oh, really?
Genuinely. And to this day, I'm still doing it. And I'm probably doing it wrong.
No, you're not doing it wrong.
I don't care. I was somebody who poo-pooed the whole thing. I went, this is repackaged Eastern. It's a form of exploitation, essentially. I had no truck to it. What's that phrase? Had no truck in it. I didn't. With it, there were trucks, and I was holding stuff, and I was with things. But to stop when I got very, very anxious, my heart started beating quite a lot.
Right.
And I felt that I was just having the same thought over and over and over again, or a same cycle of thought. And I don't know who suggested it, maybe out of my own actual brain. I thought, you know what, I'm going to go on YouTube and press a thing and try to do like a little 3 breaths or whatever it is. And my friend sent me one that he had listened to. And I went, I'll give this a go. And of course, it takes ages and ages, and you don't do it every day, and it rarely works. But when it does, it's like going to therapy for me. For me, it's the biggest boost of going to therapy for me is not what happens in the room. It's the fact that I've respected myself enough to block an hour out of a week, or however you're doing it, and dedicating that time to my well-being shows a sign of maturity and respect that I don't exhibit in any other hour of the day. So regardless of what happens in that room, I have shown myself that, and that's a great boost to me, actually. That's a great boost. And meditation, similarly, by taking 20 minutes in the morning in my bath towel, sitting on the bed, has been very reassuring, very comforting. And sometimes, rarely, but sometimes I feel like I am
achieving nirvana.
Achieving nirvana. No, but I'm discovering something that is akin to peace and contentment.
Oh, how wonderful.
Do you know what I mean? Like, yes. I mean, most of the time you're just there going, oh, I'm lying in a towel, I'm a bit cold. Oh, did I pay the bill? Yeah, I did. All right, focus. God, her voice is annoying. Yeah. Are they birds? Oh my God, have I paid the gas bill? Yeah. God, her voice. And next thing you know, it's over. But like sometimes it works. And in the middle of lockdown, it worked for me to have a routine.
Yes. And yes. Because I imagine that even, well, presumably when it's not lockdown, your routine is kind of unpredictable, hectic, and changeable.
Incredibly changeable, yeah.
It's very important to have that a little bit of regularity somewhere, isn't it?
It is. I think so, yeah. I mean, as I said, it's the best and worst thing about being a performer, the unpredictability of it. But when the world is deeply unpredictable, I found having a routine very comforting.
I really liked what you said about that giving yourself that time and being grown up. It's really important, and I think that's something that everybody forgets about, to give themselves that time, and it's about taking responsibility for yourself. I mean, the therapist is going to help you, but it's you who's really doing the work, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I think people go to therapy expecting that these are superhumans who have secrets and who by looking at you will know everything immediately. And it's not. It really isn't. You get what you put into it. And there are no secrets, which is very grown up of me to say. That's sort of the major, like, oh, there are no secrets. But there are no secrets. You just sort of, and there's this, I used to, again, trucks and holding, not do them, with this idea of self-care. Like, feck self-care, do planet care, do other care, feck self-care. You're grand. You've just had you've just had a pint for lunch. Well, you're looking after yourself well enough. Go, stop it. You're having 2 desserts. But actually, the idea, I think if people would rebrand self-care as self-responsibility, more people would sort of key into what it is, where it's actually, I have a responsibility to look after myself, so I'm not a bloody hindrance on everybody else.
We've got not very much time left. And
oh yes, sorry, I should be quicker.
No, not at all. I could listen for hours. Earlier on, you mentioned that you've developed an arsenal of tools for dealing with rejection and disappointment. And you seem to be quite confident that you're good at dealing with those. And I was going to ask you, but also an anonymous attendee wants to know specifically what your tools are for coping with rejection and disappointment.
I don't know if I have tools, but let's just say I've experienced it quite a lot. And there are moments where it does sucker punch you, and you do take to the bed and take the box of roses and cry and eat them all. But I think somebody once said to me, actually it was Ellie, my friend who's visiting, like, she said that for her, she's an actress, she said for her, she once had to help out with auditions. And so she was on the other side of the table reading opposite. And she was privy to the casting director and director making the decision on who the part would go to. And and yet again, there are no secrets. She suddenly had the realization. She went, they just went with the other girl. It's nothing about you. It's nothing you could have done. It's nothing, go in, do you, like, once I realized that I'm not at fault for not getting something, it's, and also realizing that you are going to be disappointed. It's not dealing with disappointment. It's more that I don't drown in disappointment.
Right.
And rejection, like, you are being rejected and you are going to be disappointed. And it's horrible and it will pass. But more importantly, it'll happen again and again and again and again. And there's sort of an honesty to it in a way. It's hard to say. Yeah, I have been disappointed and rejected a lot. And I look forward to it happening many, many more times because I have lived every other time, do you know? It happens, and it's part of the human experience, and it's painful. It's horrible. And I used to drown in it. I used to drown in the nasty feeling, but now I can just sort of get the sucker punch to the stomach and go, oh, that's a pity, and they were stupid because I would have been brilliant. What's next?
Yeah,
you know,
I suppose there is kind of something tempting about the nasty feeling to wallow in there, isn't there? You want to get away from that. Emma wants to know, oh, you've got something. Go on, say what you were going to say.
Oh, I was going to say about wallowing again, again, they just gave it to the other girl, Caroline.
Yeah.
Wallowing implies a certain level of placing yourself at the center of it.
Yes, right. You weren't at the center this time.
No, that's all.
Yeah.
It's nothing more, but it's nothing less than that either. It's shit, but that's all it is. It's just shit.
It's just shit. Emma wants to know, do you find it easy to learn lines, particularly Shakespearean lines?
The Shakespearean lines are, you start off going, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? And then there'll be one day and they'll suddenly click. And once they click, it's very easy to learn them, because he was a bit good. And there is an internal rhythm and structure that allows you to get into it, you know. So you're like, well, I know the next word will have to have 2 syllables because that's the way the beats are going. The learning lines, it's a muscle. It's no big trick, no secrets, lads. If you are it's this catch-22 with acting, I think, in general, and with art, perhaps. The more you do it, the better you are. The less you do it, not the less good you are, but the less fit you are, if you think of it as being an athlete and a muscle. So if that muscle's primed, you're ready to jump off and keep going, unless you're exhausted because you're working too hard, which has happened as well. It depends on whether. So, for example, I'm hoping to, who knows, but I have a script that I am meant to be learning at the moment. And of course, it's been ages since I've had to learn lines, ages. Yeah. So I'm looking at it going, no, let's put on Murder, She Wrote.
You need a deadline in order to complete.
Yeah. You do need a deadline. For me, it really helps when I'm in the room. I don't really learn them before I get into the rehearsal room. But it's work, it's the boring bit.
Yeah.
It's like the long runs, it's the matinees, it's all the really boring bits.
I wanted to ask you about École Philippe Gaulier. How do you say Gaulier?
Yeah, Gaulier.
Whatever. Yeah. So that's the infamous clown school in Paris.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So what I understand is that he breaks you down to nothing and then builds you back up piece by piece. It sounds pretty intense. How was that on your mental health?
There's a lot of mythologies around so-called gurus. He's a rude old man with plenty of talent, and he's incredibly funny. But there are no secrets, lads. No idolatry. He teaches by, and it's brilliant. He insults you, and he gives you one simple task to do, and you come out on stage and you try to do it, and he bangs his drum because it's not good, and you go off the stage. And then the next person comes out and does it, and he bangs his drum because you're not funny, you're ugly, and you're not funny. And they go, right, fine. And this happens for weeks and weeks and weeks, and then eventually one day, that was not shit. It was not good, but it was not shit. And then the next day, you're rubbish again. And the next day after that, you're rubbish again. So it continues. He doesn't break you down. Nobody, nobody.
Basically, a lot of rejection then.
A lot of rejection. No, a lot of failure. Rejection is different, I think. Loads and loads of failure. Basically what he does or certainly what I took from it, is that he took the mystery away from failure, and he gave you the freedom to fail. And once we know that we're all going to fail at some point, and once that's over and done with, we're going to fail again, there's a great freedom in it, I think.
Yeah.
It's like, if you think that comedy, most of comedy revolves, the laugh is around a failure of some kind, isn't it? That's what you're laughing at. You're laughing at the failure. So that's why I always think that comedy is sort of our human soul, recognizing the other human soul, because it really is the most innately human thing about us, failure. And to take away the mystery of failure is a very human and freeing thing to do. So that's what he did. He didn't break. You could resist it.
Right.
You could resist it, and that led to a lot of people being very unhappy. Or you could misinterpret it, and it leads to unhappiness in the course. But yeah, you weren't funny that moment, and yeah, he's a rude old man.
I think the freedom to fail seems like a good place to end. Nearly 3 o'clock. There's a few questions we haven't managed.
Yes, I'll give me questions. I'll give them really quick answers. I tend to pontificate. Sorry.
Oh, no. This is might be quite difficult to answer. I read in an article that you needed a crisis to force you to see what was happening and for you to look after your body by concentrating on your physical well-being. Has it helped you with your mental health?
Yes, absolutely. After the fire, and when anxiety swooped in, I got very stiff and swollen, and I was eating badly, and I was sleeping on couches. By taking the decision to move around, as boring and as horrible as it was, but I like hill walking, I like doing things like that, that really, really helped me. It got me out of my head, and made me feel good. There was a chemical goodness around it. Yeah.
Excellent. Very swift answer. Thank you. Karen Maguire says, I love your humour and honesty. I really enjoyed your baking on the Bake special. Hope we see more of you on the TV in the future. Thank you, Siobhan.
That's so lovely.
Sweet.
Thank you.
Another anonymous. Thank you for being so open and sharing about your anxiety. Apart from meditation, are there other things that help you?
Meditation has helped. I go to therapy. I've been going for years. I can't really expect my friends to listen to all my whinging and complaining, but that I'm very lucky to be able to afford to do that. What else helps me? The meditation. I find that if I feel that I'm getting a little bit stressed, I lay off the booze. Going for a walk. Ask your friends if they have any tips for you, because everything I have learned that is good for me, my friends have essentially told me. So for example, I remember being like really twitching, and at the end of the day, I realized I had a couple of texts going, have you gone for a walk? And I was like, what the hell are they on about? I don't need to go for a walk. I have this to finish and this to finish. And I went, oh, I need to go for a walk. Like your friends know you because they love you. And they have that outside eye. So, for example, I thought my friends weren't listening to me in the height of my anxiety, and they totally weren't. They were the ones who were sort of going, "You're not hearing what we're saying." I was like, "But you never said that," and it's like we did. do you know? Like, so ask your friends for ways when you are at your optimum, because they will know, because they love you and they look at you a lot.
Well, I've enjoyed looking at you.
Likewise, Caroline.
Everybody is saying thank you. You've been absolutely wonderful. You've been so open. It's just been a joy to talk to you.
Thank you. You made it very easy.
Oh, thank you. So I think I'm going to hand you back to Lucy.
Hi. Oh, I didn't want that to end. That was really nice. And yeah, thank you. I got a bit emotional at certain points, and just to echo what all the questions and comments that are coming in. Thank you, both of you, actually, but particularly Siobhan, for being so open, sharing some really personal stuff. I think it helps. It helps for us to hear those kind of common. We all have our own version, but those common experiences. So that was just really appreciated. Also, You had loads of, you need to do a little, one of those little books that you get at the counter in Waterstones, which is like, you had loads of lovely little philosophical quotes. I started writing some of them down. Comedy is where our humanity lies. Everything was a disaster. I had a great time. I know you like that one as well, Caroline. Art, the more you do it, the better you are. The less you do it, the less fit you are. Some really nice ones. But I think, yeah, no secrets, no idolatry.
Yes, yes, definitely.
Yeah. Really good. There's some. I mean, I'm not joking. Look, people, I made notes. No. But yeah, thank you. That was such an interesting conversation, full of
I'm
some
so
really
glad, Lucy.
open moments, but also as expected, and you did not disappoint either of you. Full of like beautiful comedy. And yeah, I couldn't agree more. That's where our shared humanity lies. So thank you so much, and to everyone who's been listening in and contributing wherever you are, in hospital, at home, in an office. Thank you so much for coming, and I hope you got as much out of it as we did here. We'll be sending you a little feedback, because we'd love to hear what you thought, for those, particularly those who didn't have a chance to ask a question, or we didn't get to it. So apart from that, all I need to do is say a huge thank you to Siobhan and Caroline for coming and being part of Make for Tomorrow. We are so grateful. That is absolutely lovely. If you only caught a bit of this, or you want to tell your friends at home about this, it will be up on our YouTube channel. Our brilliant Charlotte, who does our social media, etc., she will upload it, so it should be there within, well, definitely by the morning, hopefully. But apart from that, I do just want to say thank you to a few more people, because none of the Make for Tomorrow programme would happen without the amazing Heads On, which is the Trust's charity. They fundraised for this, so they deserve huge thanks, and they got funding from the brilliant Arts Council England and also NHS Charities Together, both of their COVID emergency response funds. And thank you, yeah, a big thank you to our funders. And also, very importantly, and I should have said this at the beginning, I didn't mention them, which is bad of me. I just want to say thank you to COGAP. So I don't know about any of you guys, but technology certainly is not my forte. And I know that we are living in weird times where we can't meet together physically. And so these screens have somehow become so important, but they do come with their challenges. And COGAP are this amazing company who have been looking after all the technical stuff, pressing all the buttons, making sure that you guys can sign up easily, and we can kind of meet together. So a big thank you to them. Apart from that, I think that is about it. We do have more events. Go to our website. I am just going to, if you are still there, people, I am going to, having said that I'm not very good at technology, I'm just going to quickly try and show you a poster of our next event that is coming up. Because if you haven't signed up for it already, please do. It's next Tuesday afternoon at 2 o'clock. It's a painting and pattern interactive workshop with an amazing artist called Rebecca Byrne. She's titled it Fantastical Flora. So if you're already an artist or you like being creative, great, but don't worry if you've never done anything like this before. These workshops are definitely for everyone. So do go to the website and check that out. And follow us on social media if that's your thing, because you can get all the updates and little comments and stories, and find out what's happening. But I think that is about it. Yeah, just a final massive thank you. Thank you to you people who've joined us watching. Again, thank you so much, Siobhan. Thank you so much, Caroline. And we'll see you here next Tuesday, people. All right, bye for now.